You go to bed, I come down here, I do what I know. I tinker. Threat is imminent, and I have to protect the one thing that I can't live without. And my suits, they're
machines.
They're part of me.
Tony Stark is a man cursed with the obsession to save the world. He's addicted to the endless progression of his tech and suits. He believes that he can solve all the world's problems, like fixing a broken machine. All he needs are the right tools. Unfortunately, these tools always become weapons. They fall into the wrong hands, go rogue, and even put the world in danger. Tony always becomes more entrenched in his mission and in his need to create a new tool that will fix his past mistakes. And Tony's final gift was time travel, a tool that could be the very thing that is killing the multiverse. But this is also the proof that Tony Stark was made to be Dr. Doom. Welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. Now, the idea that Tony Stark is Dr. Doom in Doomsday is a controversial theory, I know. But this isn't just a theory. We're going to talk about why Tony being Doom actually makes sense because of his brilliant story. So first, let's explore the direct link between the progression of the Iron Man suit and Tony's story in the MCU.
So you're a man who has everything and nothing.
Now, Tony's first armor is the Mark I, which he builds in the cave.
With a bunch of scraps!
It's bulky and awkward, yet it perfectly represents Tony's metamorphosis. This is Tony's most defining moment. Everything that happens to him in the MCU, all of his tech, suits of armor, and his mission will all stem from this scene. When Tony is nearly killed by his own creations of war, he becomes a prisoner in that cave. He's powerless, filled only with guilt for what his weapons have done. But also, he's filled with fear, because for the first time, he's not in control. And one thing Tony hates is not having control.
That is your legacy, Stark. Your life's work in the hands of those murderers. Is that how you want to go out?
He will relive this trauma of the cave many times. We see this in his first press conference. He's shattered. He has PTSD. He's willing to torpedo his life while he figures out who he is. So it's only fitting that the movie ends with Tony reclaiming his true identity at another press conference.
I am Iron Man.
These words aren't just a man assuming a superhero persona, it's an acceptance of the man Tony believes that he must become to right the wrongs of his past. In that cave, he must construct a new identity, rediscover his sense of ingenuity to reshape the weapons into a tool that saves his life and allows him to escape. In that sense, Mark II represents the start of this journey for self-repair. This is a creation that's meant to rectify the wrongs of his past, a machine built to repair not just the world, but the man inside the suit. The PTSD from the cave is so powerful that he must ensure that he will create an armor around himself both physically and mentally, so he must never face that fear again.
They say the best weapon is one you never have to fire. I respectfully disagree. I prefer the weapon you only have to fire once.
Now, when Tony takes Mark II on a test flight, the armor fails due to the icing problem.
Sir, there is a potentially fatal buildup of ice occurring.
And Tony uses this flaw against Stain.
My suit is more advanced in every way.
How'd you solve the icing problem?
Icing problem.
Might want to look into it.
He turns a defect into an advantage. Ironically, though, this also represents how, in the end, all of Tony's creations become weapons. The Jericho missile was meant to end wars in one strike, but it became a terrible weapon in the wrong hands.
I saw young Americans killed by the very weapons I created to defend them and protect them. And I saw that I had become part of a system that is comfortable with zero accountability.
This is showing how his suits and Ultron and most of the other tech he creates always goes wrong. Obadiah Stane is Tony's friend and mentor, and just as he weaponizes the first armor, he's also using Tony's company to sell weapons to the bad guys. So this is a betrayal on so many levels. Stane helped Howard Stark to build Stark Industries, and Tony lives in his father's shadow, agonizing over the fact that his actions are tarnishing Howard's legacy.
What do you remember about your dad, huh?
He was cold, he was calculating. He never told me he loved me, he never even told me he liked me.
While Howard strived to build a better world, Tony profited from the reality of war.
I'll be throwing one of these in with every purchase of 500 million or more. It's a piece.
Stane's betrayal sends him back to that cave, to his trauma, so his reaction is a giant temper tantrum. Tony turns a tool meant to stabilize his armor into a weapon, and then he shatters his own reflection. It's as if he's killing the egotistical, narcissistic billionaire who became part of the problem that Iron Man must now solve. And this is where the mission is born.
Find my weapons and destroy them. There is nothing except this. There is the next mission and nothing else.
This is Tony's core belief. This is his only way to deal with his grief and fear. No matter how much he grows to love Pepper, no matter how strong his relationship is with Peter or his other friends, or no matter how much all of his heroic moments mean, the mission overrides everything, and it's the main drive that shapes every one of Tony Stark's decisions. To create peace, Tony is basically in a war with human nature. To force humanity to reject this state, he must control and mold events, create defenses, and take reactionary measures to build a utopia.
I just finally know what I have to do. It's working. We're safe. America is secure. You want my property? You can't have it. But I did you a big favor. I have successfully privatized world peace.
Tony's need to endlessly advance his suit is a necessity that arises from escalating threats. The Mark V is the suitcase armor, a portable suit that allows Tony to be Iron Man anywhere at any time.
I am Iron Man. The suit and I are one.
As long as he's safe inside the armor, deflecting his fear and guilt, he can function and achieve his mission. But time is running out for Tony. The arc reactor, the very thing that's keeping him alive, is failing. Ever since he nearly died, Tony has believed that he is on borrowed time, a dead man walking, teetering on the edge between life and death.
I shouldn't be alive. Unless it was for a reason.
Now, because of his past, he doesn't actually believe that his life has any value beyond the mission. He thinks his life is more of a limited mechanical existence that was granted to him with the stipulation that he fixes the world before his clock runs out. And this is why Tony almost dies in so many movies. Each near-death experience serves as a reminder for his second chance, because again, he believes the mission is the only reason why he's still alive.
Don't waste it. Don't waste your life.
So, when he's dying in Iron Man 2, he turns to the bottle and regresses to his past behavior. He just started fixing things and time is already running out. So he starts risking his life needlessly, almost as if attempting to regain a semblance of control by ending his life on his terms.
Howard said the arc reactor was a stepping stone to something greater. Well, he said that you were the only person with the means and knowledge to finish what he started.
Now, the arc reactor was initially created by Howard Stark. Those designs saved Tony's life and it kept the shrapnel from his heart. So Tony improves on this technology by creating a new arc reactor, which is based on a project that Howard himself could not finish in his lifetime. So he trusted Tony to get the job done.
My greatest creation is you.
This is a symbol of his legacy, an achievement of Tony working with his father as if through time and space to save his own life. This is also he could get a little bit more time to fix his legacy and the world.
I think you should lead with that next time.
Yeah, sorry, boss. I can only use it once. It's a one-off.
Everything changes in the Avengers. The new armor is a sign of the new era that Tony enters. He evolves his suitcase suit, building a rig that deploys the armor directly to him and even assembles in mid-air. But Tony now inhabits a world that is threatened by aliens and gods, symbolizing how Tony has had to level up his game and create a weapon of mass destruction. And I love how the Mark VI armor takes a direct lightning blast from Thor, which only serves to fully charge it.
Power at 400% capacity.
How about that?
And later, Tony weaponizes this in the battle with Thanos. This upgrade is actually a result of his fight with Anton Vanko when his armor was damaged by the electrical whip. So again, Tony always finds a way to turn a weakness into a weapon. So ironically,
Trying to rid the world of weapons! You gave it its best one ever!
this sets up the next upgrade, which is one of the sleekest looking suits. This one can disassemble and reassemble and fly to Tony no matter how far away he is. Tony can now suit up almost instantly, jumping from one armor to another, almost like it's a second layer of skin. And this is crucial because after the Battle of New York, Tony no longer feels safe in his own skin.
All right, it's my suit, and then I don't want to. Oh, God, I can't.
When he tried to fly the nuke to space, Tony was ready to sacrifice himself for the mission. But then he witnesses Thanos' army, and this becomes a new cave for his traumas. And so, it's a new mission now that fundamentally defines Tony's story moving forward.
Gods, aliens, other dimensions, I'm just a man in a can. And I have to protect the one thing that I can't live without. That's you.
To represent this shift, all of Tony's old armors are destroyed in this movie. It's a metaphor for how the tools he built for the old mission are now obsolete. The new suits are remotely controlled, and crucially, Tony can now protect the people he loves most, meaning Pepper, even when he's not in the suit. And this connects to the idea that Tony knows his time is running out and the world will need Iron Man even after he's gone. So, enter the Iron Legion, an army of autonomous suits.
I see a suit of armor around the world.
Sounds like a cold world, Tony.
I've seen colder.
Ultron represents the direct consequences of Tony's new mission. Wanda shows him his worst nightmare, which also serves as a vision of a dark future. Actually, it might even be a prophecy because of the multiverse. Tony might have been dreamwalking when he saw the vision, which means he could be looking at an alternate timeline where Thanos won.
I wasn't tricked, I was shown. It wasn't a nightmare, it was my legacy. The end of the path I started us on.
So Ultron and the Iron Legion are the culmination of Tony's new mission. This is a peacekeeping program meant to bring about an era of peace, the ultimate defense that solves the Thanos threat.
What if next time aliens roll up to the club, and they will, they couldn't get past the bouncer?
The Avengers could theoretically retire. Tony could rest.
Isn't that the mission? Isn't that the why we fight? So we can end the fight, so we get to go home?
But this isn't really a kindness. Tony doesn't really trust Earth's defense with flesh and blood heroes, because they can make mistakes or be governed by their petty feelings. But a machine is indifferent and logical, programmed for one purpose only.
I'm on a mission. It's in our time.
In Iron Man 3, Tony retired and settled down with Pepper, only for him to unretire and not be with Pepper anymore.
Because the truth is, I don't want to stop.
Ultron means he gets to reclaim his life, to be free from his fears and guilt, and to let the machine carry the burden. So obviously, Tony sees no value in asking Steve and the others for permission. You can see this in his reaction when they get all mad at him. They don't see why this is so important because they don't know what's coming.
That up there, that's the end game. How are you guys planning on beating that?
Together.
We'll lose.
Unfortunately, Ultron becomes a murder bot. Tony creates him to be a peacekeeping program, but the moment Ultron gains awareness, he sees the ugly nature of humans, that they are the creators of all wars. So the only path for peace is the extinction of humankind. And Ultron needs to eliminate the Avengers because they are massive threats to the world.
If you believe in peace, then let us keep it.
I think you're confusing peace with quiet.
Now this is crucial because Ultron was created in Tony's image. He is Tony's dark reflection. He represents the consequences of his guilt and fear. He is the critical flaw in Tony's mission.
Ultron can't tell the difference between saving the world and destroying it. Where do you think he gets that?
Ultimately, Ultron proves to be yet another tool made for peace, only to turn into a terrible weapon. It's the latest catastrophe in Tony's cycle of reaction-based guilt and fear, the very thing that forces him to create his most dangerous weapon yet, the Sokovia Accords, the very thing that allowed Thanos to win.
We need to be put in check. Whatever form that takes, I'm game.
The Sokovia Accords represent Tony's latest cycle of fear and guilt. Sokovia and Ultron are Tony's fault. He is to blame for the kid who was killed in Sokovia.
He wanted to make a difference, I suppose. I mean, we won't know because we dropped a building on him while we were kicking ass.
The young man was killed by Tony's own weapon, and this guilt throws him back into his old traumas.
I saw young Americans killed by the very weapons I created to defend them and protect them.
And this is why Tony then becomes a mentor to Peter Parker. It is a way to rectify this guilt. But then Wanda blows up a building, proving to the world that the Avengers are a serious threat to the planet.
And I saw that I had become part of a system that is comfortable with zero accountability.
Now, in a sense, the Avengers are another one of Tony's weapons going wrong, because Tony does outfit and arm them with his tech and weapons. He lets them use his tower and then builds them a new base of operations.
Oh, actually, he's the boss. I just pay for everything and design everything and make everyone look cooler.
But remember, Wanda was also shaped by Tony's weaponry. His missile killed her parents. His murder bot flew his Quinjet and killed her brother. And then she falls in love with his other creation, who then gets killed because of Tony, but we'll get to that later. So Tony reacts to Wanda's mistake in the most Tony way, because he sees his friends as threats. Remember, the Hulkbuster was a contingency plan that was to be used against his friend.
Don't hate, I helped design Veronica.
As a worst case measure.
Tony knows that if the UN were to attempt to arrest these gods, it ain't gonna end well for the humans. And as we established, Tony likes having control over everything. Without control, he's back in the cave. So when Tony says,
we need to be put in check,
what he actually means to say is, you need to be put in check. The Avengers need supervision. Even this moment is crucial.
Who's putting coffee grounds in the disposal? Am I running a bed and breakfast for biker gang?
It comes across as one of Tony's witty remarks, but in reality, this is him reprimanding the Avengers. He sees himself as the adults in the room in charge of all these problematic kids, and they can't even clean up after themselves. which symbolizes the collateral damage that the Avengers are leaving behind. And Tony is literally the one who needs to clean it up after them, since he was the one who created damage control. So, by standing for the Accords, Tony tries to steal their agency as heroes to achieve his cold peace. Because in truth, Tony never gave up on his Ultron idea.
That what we needed was a pseudo-armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms.
But with Ultron failing, the Avengers are now his best bet against Thanos. So he needs to rein them in and make them be the defense that Ultron was meant to be.
I'm doing what has to be done to stave off something worse.
But Tony's new armor is another reflection of the conflict in this movie. The armor is not a giant leap in technological advancement compared to the previous versions because, after Ultron, Tony puts his faith in Steve to lead the Avengers on a better path. But Tony isn't fighting aliens this time, he goes up against his friends. So he has the combat analysis software that allows him to beat Captain America's American ass.
That is America's ass.
And then this leads to the final battle in the movie, the moment that Tony discovers how his parents died. In this moment, Tony's rage erupts like a volcano.
Did you know? I didn't know it was him.
I just did you know.
This sends him back to that feeling of the Obadiah Stane betrayal. Like Steve, he was Howard Stark's friend, and Stane tarnished Howard's legacy. And Steve betrays Tony and Howard by hiding the truth from him and choosing Bucky over Tony.
He's my friend. So was I.
So Tony wants to murder Bucky and tear him apart because deep down, there is a villain inside Tony Stark. But it's not merely about killing the man who took his parents from him, it's about hurting Steve. See, Steve represents everything that Tony could never be. A truly good person, even before he got that shield. And even with all their differences, Tony has always tried to prove himself to Steve. So when Tony shouts,
"That shield doesn't belong to you. You don't deserve it. My father made that shield."
It's pure vanity and rage. He wants to hurt Steve by stripping him of worthiness and virtues, twisting the Captain America ideal by taking ownership of his shield. But Steve doesn't need this shield to define his identity. He was the one who made the shield matter. Tony and Steve are on a collision course from the moment they met. They're both born out of a response to fear and paranoia during two very different wars. Whereas Tony allowed this fear to control him, Steve rebelled against this fear. He saw how a system that was designed to fight the fear has now weaponized it to remain in power and control, to compromise freedom for the sake of cold, authoritarian protection.
The price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay.
Now, in this moment, his disillusionment is embodied by Tony, a man broken by his own fears and inability to self-repair. So he leaves Tony in the wreckage of his shame and guilt, proving that the Accords were just another weapon that failed. So ironically, Tony is ultimately the reason why the mission fails, because this allows Thanos to win. But before that, there is one person who helps Tony pick up the pieces, and that's Spider-Man.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not there yet.
For Tony, Peter is the conduit to make things right again. Peter is his anchor and a surrogate son, an opportunity to build something more than just another piece of tech, but instead, a living, breathing result of the legacy that he leaves behind.
Look, when you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you.
However, Tony once again tries to regain oppressive control by shaping Spider-Man with his tech. The two suits he creates for him are meant to make Peter into a better hero, but they're also equipped with tech and weapons and even a kill mode.
Activating instant kill.
No, I don't want to kill anybody.
At the same time, he won't allow Peter to forge his own path. The remotely controlled empty armor is a commentary on how Tony is now blinded by his tech, and how he became out of touch with the people he wants to save.
There are people who handle this sort of thing.
The Avengers?
No. Just a little below their pay grade.
And it's Adrian Toomes, who now becomes a dark mirror to Tony's past. Toomes builds and sells weapons that he scavenges from the wreckage left by the Avengers. And this is an idea that repeats itself constantly. His tech, his legacy, always turns into a weapon used by somebody else, even after Tony dies.
Okay, it's not working out. I'm gonna need the suit back.
This is all I have. I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
After Civil War, Tony transforms into a different man. He's back with Pepper, there is no new safeguard, no new plan. Even the mission seems to be on hold as he actually considers settling down. However, the new armor tells a very different story.
If you wanted to have a kid, you wouldn't have done that.
The Mark L armor is the culmination of Tony's arms race to create the ultimate machine. The nanotechnology turns a mortal into a god. This is armor that allows him to fight Thanos and make him bleed.
All that for a drop of blood.
Now, while it's a massive scientific leap, this is an inversion of Tony's progress. He needs the bleeding edge armor because he no longer has the Avengers. He's once again back to being a man who is defined by his fears and guilt, putting his faith in the machine instead of his flesh and blood friends. The inversion is also represented through the new arc reactor. Initially, its purpose was to keep him alive and power his armor. When he rid himself of the arc reactor, it was an acceptance that he no longer needed his tech to define him. But now, the arc reactor is back, undoing all of his self-repair.
You don't need that.
I know I had the surgery. I'm just trying to protect us. Future us's, and that's it, just in case there's a monster in the closet.
It's a defense mechanism, an addiction to bypass his traumas. And when the nanites grow out of the reactor, almost as if growing out of him, from his heart, it is an unsettling visual, as if he's Iron Man on the inside, engulfing the man and leaving only the machine.
He's more machine now than man.
So, since he's completely consumed by the mission, it is fitting that he must face the embodiment of his fears and guilt.
Thanos has been inside my head for 6 years, since he sent an army to New York, and now he's back.
Like Tony, Thanos tried to prevent something terrible with cold and calculated defenses. Those defenses failed because no one else saw his logic. His mission became a curse, a necessity to fix the past to achieve an oppressive future.
Stark.
You know me?
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
And like Thanos, Tony himself has become the harbinger of death. The Avengers did not assemble because of him. All of his plans failed. He wasn't ready, and Thanos won.
Maybe I should take a page out of Barton's book. Build Pepper a farm. Hope nobody blows it up.
The simple life.
You get there one day.
The last act of Tony Stark is about acceptance. The threat he was preparing for has happened, and he lost. And losing means that the mission is over. All of his plans, all of the defensive measures, the suits, all of it, it's finished.
I saw this coming a few years back. I had a vision. I didn't want to believe it. I thought I was dreaming.
And after the fight on Titan, Tony has to face the fear from the cave once again. Dying in space, powerless, knowing that he failed because of his obsessions. This is once again a metamorphosis for Tony. He finds a new purpose, a reason to live, something more important than the mission. However, when the opportunity to rectify his mistakes presents itself, he cannot let go of his guilt.
No, I can't help everybody.
It sort of seems like you can.
Not if I stop.
But would you be able to rest?
Tony's mission almost cost him everything. The Avengers were torn apart, Pepper nearly died, Rhodey is paralyzed, Ultron nearly destroyed the world, and then Tony loses Peter along with half the universe.
Lost the kid.
Thanos couldn't see any alternatives to his mission. He was willing to sacrifice everyone, even his own favorite surrogate daughter.
What did it cost?
And Tony almost became the very thing he tried to stop because he refused to face his trauma. Losing his surrogate son is not something he can accept, not if he can fix it. Now, Tony loves Pepper, but Peter was the one who truly helped Tony to self-repair. Because in a lot of ways, Tony sees a lot of himself in this kid. So he wants to be a better father and a better mentor to Peter because maybe if he helps Peter be a better man than him, it could be a way to fix himself.
I just wanted to be like you. And I wanted you to be better.
And so Tony creates a new tool, one that was literally made to fix the past because it's a time machine. Only when Tony faces the past, though, can he fix his future. He had to reach into the past to create the arc reactor with his father's help. So Tony then creates a better and more stable version, but it ends up being stolen by Stain. So Tony had to revert to that first arc reactor, the one that Pepper mounted with the inscription to prove Tony Stark has a heart.
You don't want to keep it?
Pepper, I've been called many things. Nostalgic is not one of them.
This is just like how he had to go analog in the cave to create the first armor. This represents a return to a previous state of being, which is a necessary reminder for Tony because he always races forward with his tech, forgetting the reasons that put him on this path. And the time heist means that Tony goes back to 2012, the Battle of New York, the moment that set him on this path. And afterwards, he reunites with his father. Tony can finally overcome the regrets and shame that he feels about his dad.
I never got to say goodbye to Dad. I never got to say goodbye to my father.
It's also a way for Tony to show Howard that he turned out okay after all, that he can be someone his dad would be proud of. somebody that Morgan could be proud of.
I love you 3000.
But the really amazing detail is once again the armor. First, there's the visual importance of the design. The Mark L looked almost alien, something inhuman and alive in a very unsettling way. In contrast, the final armor seems to be a return to basics. Now, while it's still nanotech, the armor feels more traditional in its design, almost like his original suits, again, returning to the past. But the really amazing visual storytelling detail is how Tony uses the armor to win. The fight on Titan ends with Thanos stabbing Tony with his own nanite blade. There is something so visceral about Tony losing this fight with his own weapon. An idea that is rooted in his story so many times is that his creations become his undoing. In the rematch in Endgame, Tony doesn't beat Thanos with a new super weapon, but rather he uses the very thing that makes him special. When Thanos is about to win, Tony uses the nanites to transfer the Infinity Stones from the gauntlet to his armor, so he tricks Thanos with his technology. It's an inverse of their fight from Infinity War, where Thanos weaponizes Tony's armor against him. So in the end, Tony doesn't save the universe with a weapon, it's with his creativity, his brilliance, his ability to solve problems with his mind. The very thing that allowed him to escape that cave when there was no hope. It's the man inside the suit and not the armor itself. So when Tony reaches the moment of the snap, there is a tragic yet fulfilling acceptance. He can finally rest, knowing that the mission is done and his legacy is no longer tarnished. And his legacy is not in the metal, but in a better world for the ones he loves. But the thing is, the world is doomed and the mission isn't over.
He's in our time.
Removes one of the stones, and that close splits.
If you mess with time, it tends to mess back.
They're coming. They're all coming.
Multiversal war.
Isn't that the mission?
There's only one path to peace.
Everything goes wrong after Tony dies. The world has never been safe. The universe is at stake and the multiverse is dying. Time travel, multiversal tampering, reality-breaking memory spells, rifts that rapture space-time, anchor beams, absolute points in time, all of these trigger incursions.
An incursion occurs when the boundary between two universes erodes and they collide, destroying one or both entirely.
Now, we should address the possibility that the MCU's Doctor Doom will just be Victor Von Doom, and he's just a guy who looks like Tony but is not Tony Stark. I mean, look, Doctor Doom is my favorite character from the comics, and trust me, I want a faithful adaptation of Doom. But there is a reason why they brought Robert Downey Jr. back to play this character. The important part about all of this is how Tony's story makes him the perfect Doom of the multiverse saga, and here's why. Steve Rogers is back, and it's clear that this is the same Steve who went back in time in Endgame and settled down with Peggy. And based on how time travel works, this action created a branched timeline.
If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past.
We actually know that time and the multiverse are inherently connected from the show Loki. And based on the Doomsday teasers, it looks like the reason why the multiverse is at risk is because of Tony, because of his time travel tech. So you see where I'm going with this. Tony's mission is rooted in the guilt that whenever he makes some new tech, it ultimately turns into a dangerous weapon. But his fears pushed him to create new defenses against threats and rectify his mistakes. So, with that logic, the time travel machine that he created has now become the worst weapon. The weapon that is killing the multiverse. So if he is returning through the multiverse or time travel, then there is a precedent for Tony getting a second chance in life, only to become even more obsessed about his mission. After all, Tony dies because of the snap. But maybe in another universe, his story doesn't end here, and merely served as another near-death experience like the ones that have previously shaped him. And remember, right before Tony's death, he put his faith in Doctor Strange, because he saw that one timeline where they won. In that moment, Tony has an epiphany that this is where his journey has led to. His mission is to sacrifice his life to save everyone.
You said 1 out of 14 million we win, yeah? Tell me this is it.
If I tell you what happens, it won't happen.
Maybe this version of Tony used the stones to see his future just like Strange did, and that he saw the chaos of the multiverse. He witnesses how every universe is dying, and it might all be his fault. His creation is responsible for the deaths of countless trillions of lives, infinite versions of Morgan, of Pepper, and of Peter. All of them face entropy because nobody has the willpower to make the only logical decision. And the Avengers kind of forgot that they're supposed to be a team, proving that without Tony, they can't actually function. And worse, some of them are directly responsible for this chaos. So this is another cave, or it's like when Wanda showed him the dark future of Thanos' army.
That what we needed was a pseudo-armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms.
And this is why Tony Stark has the potential to become the best MCU villain. Because, just like Tony, Doom believes that he and only he can create a better world, or a better multiverse in this case. Victor Von Doom was also defined by his traumas and guilt. He too hides himself inside an armor, and while it looks medieval, Doom's armor is just as advanced as Tony's. He believes that he, and only he, has the willpower to fix the world, but then he must rule the world to achieve a peaceful utopia.
There is nothing except this. There is the next mission, and nothing else.
So Tony must take control of the multiverse. Once again, it's his fear and guilt. Guilt over his time travel tech creating the multiversal crisis, and his fear of the multiverse dying. To take control of the madness of the multiverse, he must reshape and mold it into something better. And the only way to achieve this outcome, this mission, is for him to take control and rule over everything. Iron Man was never meant to rule, so he must become something new, another metamorphosis, one that merges all of Tony's different sides. Tony Stark, Iron Man, all his dark mirror images, Ultron and Thanos, all of it to create a new identity, Doctor Doom.
Peace in our time.
And this is why Tony was made to be Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday. Big shout out to Pavel T who wrote and edited this video, and let us know what you think. Does this theory hold water? Do you like our analysis of Tony Stark? Let us know down in the comments below, or you can at me on Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, or subscribe to me on Substack. You can also find me on our free-to-join Discord server. Links for everything are below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.